Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 5 questions in about 10 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. I am very grateful to be able to introduce to you today Spencer Loveless. Spencer is the CEO of Dustless Technologies as well as Merit 3D. And Spencer, thank you so much for joining me today on our podcast. What would you like the people to know about the projects that you're working on and the companies that you lead?
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Well, so Dustless Technologies, it's a family business, been around for a few years. We make vacuums and dust shrouds for contractors. We've most recently started a company to bypass overseas inventory, bypass injection molding, and bypass long lead times for development. So we started Merit 3D, which we're just mass producing parts without injection molding, without overseas suppliers, and really challenging the containers coming over from China. So it's been a good venture in those two companies.
Wow, that sounds great. That's certainly some new technologies, the 3D technology. So I'm glad you're finding some effective ways to use it and make it profitable. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get started with our questions today. Spencer, our first question: share an experience that you've had of collaboration within a team.
I think teams are key for growth. I realize many times I have an idea and I'm like, this is perfect, we can do this idea. And as long as I have the right team member on board, as long as ideally they're more knowledgeable than me. Most of our employees are. But one of the most recent projects we did was to just create a company for mass manufacturing on mass production for 3D printing. And really the collaboration with the team to be able to source different products, to be able to find different suppliers, to be able to meet different goals for our company has been key. And it couldn't happen without great employees to make it all flow.
I could not agree more. Teams are so essential to growing a successful company. Great comments. Thank you. Question number 2, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to measure engagement. Tell us your thoughts.
It can be very challenging, especially today where a lot of employees are remote. Like, you don't know. I mean, I think that traditionally it was great. I can see you, I can see you're working, I can see you're being productive. And that's not how it happens today. So I think to measure engagement, first you have metrics. You can have metrics, but most of the time, you know if an employee is doing pretty well. You know if they're being engaged. But a lot of just clear, open communication is key. You know, how many times are you meeting with that person? Quick stand-up 15-minute meeting just to fill them out for the day, fill them out for the week, whatever you're doing. But those constant meetings, just interactions with employees is how I get engagement with them to fill them out.
So some frequent but brief little touch points, or however you want to call them, with your team. That's a great idea. Great insight. Great insight. Question number 3, Spencer, based on your experience, what is one essential characteristic or attribute of a confident leader?
A confident leader. I would say, confident and humble many times are they're fighters. They don't go together. But I feel that humility is a big trait that's needed in leaders. Someone that's willing to listen, willing to admit that they're wrong. And leaders, that's the difference between a leader and a boss many times, is a leader leads people along and has them follow. And people like to follow because they respect that person for who they are. Where the opposite is, you have someone that really pushes and cattle prods them along. But I think a leader that's humble and hungry at the same time is a great characteristic.
A leader is humble and hungry at the same time. I like that. That's a great combination of words there. That's great. Question number 4. Are there some people, or maybe a person, that you would like to recognize that has made a difference in your life?
I would say my dad made a big difference. I worked with him for about 2 years in Dustless Technologies before he passed away in an airplane accident. And he taught me how to work hard and play hard. And without a lot of his risks that he took early on in his life, who knows where I would be. But that's the leader in my life.
Well, thank you for recognizing him. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sure that was a very difficult transition that you had to make there to deal with that. But what a great example of having your dad show you all those things and how to take risks and manage all of those kinds of things. So thank you so much for recognizing him. All right, our last question. This is kind of a fun one, at least for most people. It's kind of a fun one. We'll find out for you. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
My first job. So this actually has to do with my dad as well. So when I was, obviously mowing lawns, my dad, we had a tiller and I tilled our garden, and my dad bought a tractor and he said, hey, we can get a tiller on the back of this tractor. You can go till gardens. I said, Dad, I can't even drive yet. He's like, well, you don't need a license to drive farm equipment. And so I remember if the garden was close by in the neighborhood, I'd be one of the, my kids would say, can you drive that tractor? Yeah, you don't have a license. Oh, you don't need one. So I would drive around to neighborhoods and till gardens. And if it was too far, we'd load it up on the trailer and he would drop me off and then come back 3 hours later. And hopefully I'd have this big garden that was tilled. And as soon as I got my license, then obviously I could haul it around. But that was a great meeting or a great job to be able to prepare me. I remember my first goal was to go on a national jamboree scout camp. And that's what I was working for.
That's what you were earning the money for, huh?
Yeah.
That is awesome. So you obviously gained some entrepreneurial spirit and skills in that early job. If you were kind of out getting your own clients, is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I learned I can't spend all the money. I have to put gas in the tractor.
So yeah, I learned about expenses right off the top, right at the beginning. That's great. Spencer, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
The easiest way is through LinkedIn. Spencer Loveless on LinkedIn, Dustless, Merit 3D. Otherwise, dustlesstools.com is our website. You can fill out a form there. My email, I'd tell you my email, but it's pretty long. Spencer.loveless@dustlesstools.com.
Very good. Well, thank you again for being our guest today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can go to teamengagementpodcast.com. Again, that's teamengagementpodcast.com. We also encourage you to subscribe to the podcast as well as the YouTube channel where you can watch the video. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks, Sean.